Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Well, here we are, the first of a series of talks on Haridwar, Rishikesh, Badrinath, and all kinds of places in between. So this is class number 1, Haridwara. Dwara means gate, and the gate to the abode of Hari, the gateway to Lord Hari. That's the meaning of the focus that we'll be spending today, and a little bit of the importance of these places. Here is a nice map. It's a little detailed. I mean, the letters are very small, but as you see in the lower left corner, that's Haridwar. Just above Haridwar, with a red circle around it, is Rishikesh. And then on the upper region, there's Badrinath, Kedarnath, Gangotri, Yamunotri. So some of the devotees know these 4. There's 2 sets of 4 at least. Char Dham. So to visit one invites one to visit the other 3. Recently, we visited Haridwar, Rishikesh, and Badrinath, and we went all the way up to Badrinath, and some devotees took a bus ride the rest of the way, all the way to Gangotri, Yamunotri, and Kedarnath. So it was like, it is said visiting these places is especially beneficial for purification. There's another 4 that's also called Char Dham, and northwest, south, and east. On the far west, Dwarka. On the far east, that's Puri. The far north is Badrinath. And down at the bottom, Rameshwaram. So in case you want to take sannyas someday, or for purification at any stage of life, you want to visit those Char Dhams, that's where those 4 are. And it says that by visiting these 4 dhams, it helps one to achieve mukti. This first class is just an introduction to our topic. From Padma Purana and Skanda Purana, it's the very same identical verse that lists these 7 cities. The number expanded from 4 to 7. And it said that these 7 cities listed at the very top in the verse, they give liberation. So we're visiting one of them, Haridwar. It's identified slightly differently. Ayodhya, Mathura, Haridwar, Kashi, or Varanasi or Benares, Kanchi Puram, Avanti Pura. Some of you know where that place is, where Krishna went to school, Avantipur, where Sandipani Muni resided. It's a holy place. It's beneficial for getting liberation. Puri and Dwarka. And listed in the list, you look at the top, and it doesn't say Haridwar, it says Maya, as in yoga Maya, not the other kind. So that's Maya or Maya Puri or Haridwar. These places, these 7 places, are all found in Navadvip, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who wrote Navadvip Dham Mahatmya, this is from an article, this language is directly from him. Among the 7 Mahatirthas, such as Ayodhya, Mathura, Maya, etc., Maya Tirtha exists in Haridwar in one form, and in the second form it resides in Goda. Meaning, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, in the mood of a devotee of Krishna himself. So wherever is existing in Krishna's, his pastimes and his places of pastimes, they exist in Navadvip. And extensively, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written on this topic. Here's another little list that maybe you've seen before. There are 2 verses in Srimad Bhagavatam that identify the 10 topics in Srimad Bhagavatam. This is one of them. The first verse of chapter 10, canto 2. Atra, beginning with Sarga Visarga Sthanam Poshanam Uttaya, creative impetus. That's 5. Then the Manvantaras, or the change of Manus. Isha Anukata, the science of God. Nirodha, going back to Godhead. Mukti, liberation, or Haridwar, for example, the giver of liberation, and Ashraya. So those are the 10 topics. They're found also in Canto 12, the very same list of 10, the very same Sanskrit, by the same author, by Vyasadeva, the author. So the place that we're visiting today, virtually, Haridwar, has different names by which it is known. Where is it located? It's located on the west bank of the Ganges. So the Ganges flows, general speaking, down to the sea from the Himalayas down in a southerly direction. So on the west side of the river Ganges is Haridwar. We saw the map where he showed where is Haridwar. And Haridwar is at the foothills of the Himalayas. Of course, it's a little bit further south than the foothills of the Himalayas, but that's okay. And it has different names. Ganga Dwara, the Dwara to Ganga. Swarga Dwara, gateway to reach Swarga. Mayapuri, we already came across that term. The name is associated with the goddess Maya Devi. Shortly we'll see a temple of the goddess Maya Devi. So there are 2 Maya Devis, the material one and the spiritual one. So Maya Devi is the spiritual one in this case. And then sometimes Haridwar is spelled without the I, Hari, it's just Hardwar, the gate to reach Lord Shiva's place in Kedarnath. In the course of this weekend, we're going to spend more time on a number of these topics, including where's Kedarnath, the abode of Lord Shiva. We're going to learn a lot, not everything, but we're going to learn a lot about Lord Shiva and his abodes. So this is just touching of topics. And the photograph on the upper right, that's worship of the Ganges or Ganga. Kapilastana, one of the places where Kapila resided for some time and engaged in austerities, is in Haridwar. So Haridwar is sometimes known as the Sthana of Kapila. We're going to find out one of the presentations towards the end is about Ganga, and the descent of the Ganga into this realm came as a result of an event connected with Kapila Dev And Kapila Dev, resides primarily and principally in the Atala Loka. So we'll learn more as we go along. Just for the time being, this gate for reaching Lord Shiva's Kedarnath is Haridwar, and it's a place where virtually, of course, in the course of this weekend, it's the place where Vidura met Maitreya. It's way up there in the Himalayas where Maitreya was staying. Here's a deity, a temple. We'll see different images. Goddess Maya is a three-headed and four-armed deity who is an incarnation of Shakti. Now as there are different Mayas, there are different Shaktis. So there's one of these Shaktis is Swarup Shakti. Another is the external energy. So she is the internal energy. Haridwar is known as Mayapuri in reference to this deity. So there's the temple on the outside, and then here's the temple on the inside. Here's the deity. Three-headed, four-armed deity. Pretty unusual. Goddess Maya. Here's 3 slides where Srila Prabhupada in his Bhaktivedanta purports is writing about Haridwar. Here's one. This is Sanatana Shiksha. This is Madhya Lila, chapter 20. Prabhupada writes, this is the verse. The Lord is situated in all the universes in different forms, just to please his devotees. Thus, the Lord destroys irreligious principles and establishes religious principles by his presence and of teachings, etc. And purport. In the material world, the Lord is situated in different archa murtis, or deities, in the temples, just to decrease the material activities of the conditioned soul and increase his spiritual activities. Particularly in India, there are many temples throughout the country. Devotees may take advantage of them and go see the Lord at Jagannath Puri, Vrindavan, Prayag, Mathura, Haridwar, and Vishnu Kanchi. That's Kanchipuram at the very bottom, one of the Char Dhams. When the devotees travel to these places and see the Lord, they become very happy in devotional service. That's Chaitanya Charitamrita. Here's the structure of the universe, Canto 5. This is the descent of the Ganges coming down, down, down. After purifying the 7 planets near Dhruvaloka, what's the 7 planets near Dhruvaloka? The Saptarishis, the Big Dipper. After purifying the 7 planets near Dhruvaloka, the Ganges water is carried through the spaceways of the demigods in billions of celestial airplanes. Then it inundates the moon and finally reaches Lord Brahma's abode atop Mount Meru. Now, Lord Brahma has several abodes. One of those several abodes is, of course, Brahmaloka, at the topmost place in the universe. But he has another abode. You can say like a summer home. He's a big guy. He has another place. And there are other places up on top of Mount Meru. We're going to hear more. We're going to see pictures and hear much more about Mount Meru. In this way, the waters of the Ganges finally reaches the lower planets and the peaks of the Himalayas. So before it gets to the Himalayas, it's got a long distance to travel. And we'll see the conveyances shortly. And from there it flows through Haridwar and throughout the plains of India, purifying the entire land. Of course, irrigating, but purifying, because the water of the Ganges is not just water. It's water, but it sanctifies. Now, also, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 8. This is Bharata Muni in the form of a deer. So, remaining in that ashram, the great king Bharata Muni was now very careful not to fall victim to bad association. He's in the body of a deer. Without disclosing his past to anyone, he remained in that ashram and ate dry leaves only. He was not exactly alone, for he had the association of Supersoul. In this way, he waited for the death in the body of a deer. Bathing in that holy place, he finally gave up that body. So that place was in Haridwar. Holy places like Vrindavan, Haridwar, Prayag, and Jagannath Puri are especially meant for the execution of devotional service. So that's where he was, the deer, after being Bharat, Maharaj the king. Couple more references. Here's from, this is a lecture. It's an extract from Prabhupada's lectures, Topmost Yoga System. In India, therefore, those who are very serious about practicing yoga go to Haridwar, a very secluded place in the Himalayas, where it's at the foothills of the Himalayas, where they remain alone and follow very restricted process for eating and sleeping. There's no question of mating. And also reference from Canto 1, Chapter 13. We're only going to have 3 more Prabhupada specific. There's many, but 3 specific references further. This is Canto 1, Chapter 13. In the holy places of India, like Vrindavan, Haridwar, Jagannath Puri, and Prayag, there are many great devotees. And there are still free kitchens, houses, for persons who desire to advance spiritually. So they don't have to worry about maintenance. Free kitchens take care of their eating, and all they have to do is their devotional activity in these places. There are such places in each of these locations. Canto 9, Chapter 9. This is King Sagar, the descent of the Ganges. Mother Ganges is available to everyone for bathing. Therefore, not only sinful persons bathe in the Ganges water, but in Haridwar and other holy places where the Ganges flows, saintly persons and devotees will also bathe in the waters of the Ganges. And our last reference from Prabhupada is this one. Canto 4, Chapter 8. This is Vidura having discussions with Maitreya. To go to Badri Narayana, one has to pass through Haridwar on the path to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, there are other holy places of pilgrimage, such as Prayag and Mathura. And the topmost of them all is Vrindavan. So there's a little list, and we're going to slowly, not just very slowly, very quickly go through the list, where we already mentioned it's a place where Kapilashram, where he performed some austerities. It's a place where Arjuna met Ulupi. There's a nice story, we'll hear it twice, about how this came to be. Arjuna met Ulupi, and a son was born. They were married. Special marriage. Place where Daksha's sacrifice, where Mother Sati was immolated herself. We'll hear their whole presentation tomorrow morning there's a whole presentation on this topic. So we'll hear more. Bhishma performed Shraddha for Santanu. That was his father. So after the departure of his father, Bhishma went to Haridwar to perform rituals. Ajamila, you may or may not know, after he was saved by the Vishnu Dutas, he went to Haridwar and performed austerities and went back to Godhead. It was like a few things in between, but that's what happened. A few more. It's where the place where Maitreya instructed Vidura. It's the place where Dhritarashtra and Gandhari and Kunti gave up their bodies. This is from Mahabharata in Haridwar. When Bharat Maharaj, he went to Pulaha Ashram from being a king and where he achieved Bhava Bhakti, that Bharat Maharaj. It's a place where the Ganges split into 7 streams to please the Saptarishis who performed austerities here. The Saptarishis, they also have multiple residences, like Brahma does. And this is one of them, in Haridwar. Jayadrath, not a celebrity, he is a problematic personality, but Jayadrath underwent austerities here in Haridwar. And it's a place of the Kumbh Mela. So we'll go through each of these quickly, because it's going to take time even to go quickly. There's Kapilastan. So we remember back earlier, one of the names of Haridwar is Kapilastan. It's named like that because Haridwar is a place where Kapila had his residence. And Ganga Sagara. What's Ganga Sagara? Ganga Sagara is where the river Ganga flows into the sea. There's like a river delta from mud accumulated for so many eons. And it's a river delta, Ganga Sagara. And that Ganga Sagara and Kapila Stan, what's the correlation between that and Attala, where Kapila currently performs austerities? And again, we're going to hear a whole presentation on Ganga. So we'll hear details and details. A little, those who are careful readers, so would you please become careful readers. You'll find on occasion there's some conflicting reports. One is the Bhagavatam says one thing, Vishnu Purana says a different thing, and Brihad Bhagavatamrita says a different thing. So there's 14 planetary systems. 7 upper, 7 lower makes 14. And of the lower, the topmost of the lower is Attala. That's according to Vishnu Purana. It was in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam and Brihad Bhagavatamrita, that's where Kapila resides. He did austerities at Haridwar, but he resides and continues to reside in that place, Attala. And then just below Attala is Patala, not Patala, that's at the very bottom, but it's Patala, spelled similarly but pronounced differently. So according to Vishnu Purana, that's where he is residing presently. It's a detail. In Canto 3, there's many chapters where Kapila is instructing his mother Devahuti. And the starting place of that section includes there in Haridwar, where the great sage Kapila, the personality of God, had left his father's hermitage with the permission of his mother and went towards the northeast. So he left his father's place, his father's kingdom, and headed for Haridwar, the northeast. Next he went to Gangasagara. Where's the Gangasagara? River delta where the Ganga flows into the Atlantic, to the Indian Ocean, described in the next verse in Canto 3, Chapter 33. And then, finally, Kapila went to Attala, where he permanently resides even today. Then in Vishnu Purana has says slightly different, but we find Rishi Valmiki's Ramayana that Sri Kapila, who broke Ravana's intoxicated pride, resides in Attala. So there's a number of references. The Bhagavatam, Brihat Bhagavatamrita, Valmiki Ramayana, they say he resides in Attala today. And Vishnu Purana, just for giving credit where its credit's due, Patala Loka is said to be where Kapila's ashram is. So what we're doing here is we're just giving a little set of examples of the prominent importance of Haridwar. So there's a detailed circumstance which one whole class will be dedicated to. And that the one whole class that's going to be dedicated to is the departure of the Pandavas, Canto 1. The Pandavas depart this world. But there's a passage where the Pandavas are in exile, and Kunti has made an arrangement that the 5 brothers would each be with Draupadi for 1 month, and the others would not enter into the place where that brother and Draupadi were. So a circumstance arose. This is a little detail, but you'll hear more about it. The little detail was that a report came from a Brahmana. He wasn't a cowherd boy, he was a Brahmana. He had some cows, and the cows were plundered by some thieves. And the Brahmana took shelter of Arjuna. Help! Someone stole my cows. So, being a protector and a hero, he wanted to do something. He made a vow. I'll help you. I'll get to the cows. And when he went to get his weapons, he forgot. The weapons were in the room, the residential quarters, where Draupadi and Yudhisthira were at that time. So he went in, and he got his weapons. And with those weapons, he dealt with the plunderers of the cows, and he defeated them and got the cows back and gave the cows to the Brahmana. The Brahmana was very happy, but when he came back, he confessed to Yudhisthira, I've broken the word of our mother. And so I'm going on pilgrimage for 12 years. No, 12 months, 12 months, to purify myself for violating our mother's word. That's pretty serious. And Yudhisthira said, no. You're doing this in service to a Brahmana, and it's your duty to give protection because you're duty bound. You did the right thing. He said, no, I violated the word of my mother, I'm going. Purification. To purify myself from violating the mother's word. And Yudhisthira tried to persuade him, but he was very determined. And so the very first thing he did is he headed for Haridwar. It's a place where he could go and perform austerities. And he was there for some period of time. And while he was there, he was performing rituals that required fire. And then he realized, before I begin this ritual with the fire, I have to take bath. Because he's not a Brahmana, he's a Kshatriya. But he knew how to do rituals anyways, and there wasn't a Brahmin available, so he was doing the ritual. And when he went to take bath, lo and behold, he was taken underwater to a strange place. Because there's a detail. The detail is the lower regions of the universe, where the Nagas reside, as one example, the Nagas reside in the lower regions of the universe. There's a hole, and the Ganga flows through that hole, and he was carried through that hole by Ulupi, the daughter or princess of the Naga king, Kauravya. So he didn't know where he was, but it wasn't underwater at this time. It was underneath that realm where the Ganges flows. And so he wanted to perform this yagya. So he did this yagya after taking his bath in the Ganga. And then after doing the yagya, he asked this lady, "Who are you? You brought me here." And she was very straightforward. She said, "I'm the daughter of the Naga king Kauravya. And I became very attracted to you. So I'd like to marry you." She made her marriage proposal. And Arjuna is already married, but Kshatriyas could marry more than one wife. So he said, "You have to ask your father." And his father liked the idea. Her father liked the idea. And so right there in Nagaloka, they were married. And shortly thereafter, a son was born. The son's name, Iravan. Later, Iravan took part in the Battle of Kurukshetra. He had mystic powers because he was descendant of the Nagas. So he had celestial mystic powers. He was very useful during the Kurukshetra battle. But all of this happened, it started in Haridwar. Arjuna was on pilgrimage to purify himself, starting with Haridwar. And then there's, Mahabharata goes on and on about what he did for the rest of the 12 months. Tomorrow morning, we're going to hear the detail of Sati immolating herself because of her relationship with her father, Daksha. Daksha was he is Daksha, he's expert, and very powerful, and very this and very that, but also very proud. And we'll hear the detail of how it happened that Sati immolated herself so she would no longer have connection with her father, who she considered to be a big offender of her husband. Big offender, because of his pride. So we'll hear the detail tomorrow. It takes a whole class to tell this one. One of the great personalities in Mahabharata and in the Bhagavatam is Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev was the son of Santanu and Ganga. There's a long story about how that happened. But after his father departed, Bhishma Dev went all the way to Haridwar to perform rituals for his departed father. There are several places in India. That's one of the several places in India because it's Haridwar, the abode of Hari. He was wanting his father to attain the spiritual world. So he went there to perform the rituals for his departed father. This was mentioned already. We're going to hear much more about it as we go on. But it's a nice painting. This is Vidura who also was on pilgrimage. He was not present during the Kurukshetra battle because he was on pilgrimage. And there's details of why he was on pilgrimage. Here's the detail. He tried, and he tried, and he tried to impress upon Dhritarashtra, his elder brother, and his elder brother's eldest son, Duryodhana, the necessity to be submissive to the personality of Godhead. Duryodhana wasn't going to hear it, so Duryodhana insulted him, like severely. And it wasn't because he was insulted, it was just he realized, there's no service for me here. So he left. And he left for purification purposes, because I've been in this contaminating association. I need purification. So he went to holy places in a whole circular motion, and ended up way up there in Haridwar, towards the very end of his pilgrimage for purification. And that's where they met. That Kushavarta, we saw that name earlier already. It's a place along one of the tributaries, the Godavari, that's very near to the whole area of Haridwar, where they met. And there's a whole section in the Bhagavatam, Canto 4, lengthy section, where the pastimes of the personality of Godhead, etc., are all described. One of the areas in Haridwar, we'll see some very specific pictures going forward in time. This is just a little overview. Sorry, skipping details. But the Sapta Sarovara has to do with the Saptarishis were in this area engaged in austerities. They had this desire of Ganga, that Ganga divide into 7 tributaries, and so Ganga divided into 7 tributaries. And that area is called Sapta Sarovar. After Vidura, we just heard about Vidura hearing from Maitreya. After Vidura heard from Maitreya, Vidura went back to Hastinapur. And when he went back to Hastinapur, he, as they say these days, he gave Dhritarashtra the sauce. That was a Tamal Krishna Maharaj expression I've heard many times. And then he gave me the sauce. So he scolded Dhritarashtra severely, transcendentally severely, and told him, you need purification. You're too much attached to something that's just not going to happen, and don't you see the writing on the wall, and stop it. Go get purification. So where'd he go? Haridwar. It's a nice place for purification. So this is 35 years after the Battle of Kurukshetra. Dhritarashtra quit home. He performed austerities under the guidance of Vidura. 15 years of those austerities. Now, this narration that I'm expressing is from Mahabharata. Please note, Srimad Bhagavatam doesn't have the same account. But the Mahabharata narration was Gandhari, the wife of Dhritarashtra, went together with Kunti, or Kunti went with the 2 of them. So there were 3 of them. And the explanation given in Mahabharata, there's many things. But one of those many things was Gandhari felt at a certain point that my service to my sons is no longer needed. They're attached to me, but I want to become more attached to Krishna. So I want to go on pilgrimage to a holy place, become exclusively dedicated to Krishna. I mean, that was her choice. And she felt compassion for Gandhari and Dhritarashtra, because Sanjaya was the eyes for blind Dhritarashtra, and Gandhari had herself blindfolded, so she was the eyes for Gandhari. So the four of them went into the forest area of Haridwar, and they engaged themselves in activities for purification. 15 years of austerities. And then circumstances, there was a big fire, and they all left in that big fire. Both four of them. No, excuse me, three of them. Sanjaya asked Dhritarashtra, should I stay? Dhritarashtra said, this is meant for our purification, not yours. You should get while the getting's good. Leave this forest immediately. It's an instruction. So Sanjaya left. He was a very devoted servant of Vyasadeva. Anyway, the Bhagavatam shows different, or explains, and the painting shows differently. Dhritarashtra underwent severe Ashtanga yoga. He was actually a very capable person, spiritually capable, just too much attached. And he had become contaminated due to that too much attachment. So in the fire of intense meditation, his body burst into flames. And Gandhari entered into the flames, into the funeral pyre, as it said. Now that's the Bhagavatam differs. It's okay. As many of you probably know, after the Yamadutas came and checked, the Vishnu Dutas came and checked the Yamadutas from taking the soul of the sinner Ajamila to the court of Yamaraj because he had uttered the name Narayana, his son. There was discussion, and etc., Namabas, etc. So the Yamadutas went back to Yamaraj. What's going on? And the Vishnu Dutas were still there. So Ajamila started asking the Vishnu Dutas questions like, what happened, and who are you, and all those kinds of things. And they remained silent. And they just departed. And after they departed, the silence was a message for him. He went to Haridwar. And what did he do in Haridwar? He became purified by the words from the Vishnu Dutas. He took shelter in a Vishnu temple. You see in the painting, that's the Vishnu temple in the background. Himalayas. They're at the foothills of the Himalayas. So he went to a Vishnu temple and did purification of bhakti yoga, controlling his mind and senses. He became absorbed in thinking of Krishna's form, a little bit different than what he was doing as a prostitute hunter. And again, the very same Vishnu Dutas descended on a Vaikuntha Vimana. He, Ajamila, left behind his material body and accepted immediately, instantly, suddenly, a spiritual body, a four-armed spiritual form. He got on the Vimana and he went back with them to Vaikuntha realm. And this is one of those stories, and they lived happily ever after in Vaikuntha. Nice ending, huh? Not often heard. Bharat, the king, the eldest son of Rishabdev, he achieved his Bhava Bhakti stage in Haridwar. Isn't that nice? This Haridwar is a special place. Let's go. On the bank of the Gandaki River, there's an ashram known as Pulaha Ashram. And he was engaged in worship of, as the painting shows, not the sun god, but not just a sun god, Surya Narayana. He wasn't a sun worshipper. Surya Narayana, the form of Narayana. Then, some things happened in Pulaha ashram that caused his fall down. There's some detail, but we're not going into those details. The main point is, Haridwar is a very special place for purification. Now, later, one whole class will be discussing the topic of the Pandavas retire timely. It's a whole chapter in Canto 1, Srimad Bhagavatam. But one of the events, Mataji, that's sitting there with your back to the Vyasa-san, could you not sit with your back to the Vyasa-san, if you don't mind? Just to the side is fine. You're good. Thank you. You're good. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. So, one of the classes, the Pandavas retire timely, has a whole discussion about Gandhari, literally an expansion of the goddess of fortune. So has special features, including special beauty. And did you know that along with Dhritarashtra's 100 sons, he had one daughter? Yes? And that one daughter was married to whom? Jayadratha. Oh, you Mahabharata fans here. Okay. So, on his wedding day, Jayadratha was driving the chariot on his wedding day, after the wedding, with Dushala in the chariot. And he saw Draupadi over by the side of the road. And he became overwhelmed with lust, got off the chariot and tried to grab Draupadi and try to put Draupadi on this chariot and take her away. She punched him in the jaw. Draupadi wasn't a wimp. She was she's a Kshatriya personality. And later she informed Bhima what happened. Bhima was going to pulverize this guy, make him into a sack of potatoes. And as he was beating him and beating him and beating him and beating him and beating him, Yudhisthira came along and said, "Don't do this. He's from a royal family. You can't treat him this way. Even he did bad stuff. You can't. So you can humiliate him, but you can't smash him. You can't kill him for this." So what did they do? They purposefully humiliated him by shaving him except for 5 tufts of hair, and then purposefully standing over him like this painting shows, laughing. And there's Draupadi in the center. And the big burly person, that is Bhima. Jayadratha was a Kshatriya spirited man, and so he decided, I want to get revenge. So where did he go? Haridwar. Not only for good places. He went to Haridwar, very severe austerities to please Lord Shiva. Now notice his haircut in this painting, and notice his haircut in the next painting. He underwent austerities for quite a long time. And he wanted a benediction. When Lord Shiva appeared, he offered some benediction. What would you like? And he said some things that, that Lord Shiva wasn't prepared to give him. I want to get back at the Pandavas. And he said, Arjuna is one who is Krishna's dear friend. All the Pandavas are Krishna's dear friend, but especially dear to Krishna is Arjuna. So I give you this benediction that only once you can contain all the Pandavas except Arjuna. This became useful later in Mahabharata, in the Kurukshetra battle. But there's a whole class on Kurukshetra, so you'll hear more and more and more, and all these details you hear a second time. Stay with us. The second benediction he gave was, anyone who made Jayadrath's head fall on the ground would have his own head broken into 7 pieces. And that's a very important part of the Kurukshetra battle, because Jayadrath was killed by Arjuna. But Krishna whispered in his ear, don't let his head fall on the ground. Send his head to the place where his father is engaged in austerities, some many, many miles away. And the head fell on his lap, Jayadrath's father's lap. And it was, yuck, this head on my lap. And he pushed it off his lap, and his head broke in 7 pieces. Compliments of Krishna, protecting Arjuna, and honoring this pledge of Lord Shiva. And we're only halfway through all of our slides. Here's another detail about Haridwar. There are 4 places. Every 4 years, 4 years, 4 years, 4 years makes every 16 years. There's Kumbh Mela shifts in different places. One of those 4 places is in this place called Hari Ki Paurikat, the feet of Hari. And, you know, very unusual looking personalities come from all over the place to engage in Kumbh Mela in Haridwar. There's a list of where some of those other places are shortly. And it's auspicious dates, not only on Kumbh Mela, but these other dates. These are special dates. Every Ekadasi, Amavasya, the Sankranti date, the solar lunar eclipse. You know, you see all the people. Look at all these people. Because there's some special event for offering a lamp to the Ganga at night, and in some cases during the daytime taking bath for bathing. And in this area, we're going to hear some of these names. This one at the top we've heard already, Kal. The third on the list, you've heard that place. That's where Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken. So here's this first, the place of the lotus feet of Hari. You can see the bridge that spans over the Ganga. And there's this temple of Lord Hari or Vishnu in this particular location. It's the building on the left, not this prominent one on the right. And daily at 6 a.m., look at all these people performing Mangal Arti or Arti for Ganga at this very same location. There's several other ghats. You saw that same list before. Gau Ghat is a place along the Ganga that if one has somehow or another killed a cow, one can perform bathing to become freed from the sin of killing a cow, and many other sins as well. Thus, Gau Ghat. There's a place called Vishnu Ghat. Once Lord Vishnu bathed here. There's another place where Dattatreya underwent austerities for 1,000 years. Now, most of you know, some of you may not. Dattatreya is a partial incarnation of Lord Vishnu. And Dattatreya underwent austerities at this place, at this particular ghat, and he stood on one leg for 1,000 years. Don't try it. But he did it. Here's Kankal. No, I said it improperly. Kankal is the place where Prajapati Daksha had his capital. And that's one of the places along the side of the river Ganga, or in the Haridwar area, Kankal. And here's a temple at Kankal. This is a Mahadev Daksheshwara Mahadev temple. This is what the temple looks like on the outside. This is what the temple looks like on the inside. There's a Shivalinga, or Mahadev Linga, and the legend or the teaching that they'll tell you, just bathe the deity with water just once, and all your desires will be fulfilled. Voila. So some people like that. I have lots of desires. There's a long line for people that want to bathe the deity just once with water. In this area of Haridwar, this Sati Kund, because it's very near to Kankal, it's just 2 kilometers away from Kankal. It's a place where it's said where her body burned, and in this place, I've never been there, so I don't know for sure, but that the literature says during the rainy season it fills up. This is just a marble place where it is said this is where she immolated herself. Sati was the daughter of Daksha and Prasuti, and there's the scriptural reference for her appearance. There's another place where Bhimasen made a humongous kund, 1/2 kilometer big kund, with the blow of his knee. He wanted to take bath. He put his knee strongly into the ground, and now there's a ghat. Bhima Goda Ghat. Bhima Goda Kund. Here's the Sapta Sarovar. We're going to see a number of photographs as we go further. But what this place is, there's the ashram, where the Sapta Rishis, it is said, they took turns and did some austerities there. And then there's the ghat. At their request, the Ganges split into 7 streams. We're nearing an end. This is Manasa Devi Temple. Now, it's not so far away, but I don't know how they can say this, but that's what they say. She burned, her heart and navel of Sati fell here. Anyway, so there's a nice temple up on that rooftop or hilltop. And here's the deity of Manasa Devi. And this is on the list of all these places that we saw. This is Pareshwara temple, the temple of Lord Shiva. This is what the building looks like on the outside. This is what the deity looks like in the inside. It's a Shiva Linga that is said is to be made of mercury. Now, I don't understand it. Maybe somebody here knows something about this. But mercury it's a metal, but it's liquid. You don't like to put it in your thermometer. It rises and it falls. It's sensitive to temperature, and it rises and it falls. That's what goes into thermometers. At least one of the things that they did some time ago is mercury. So it's liquid. But here's a deity that's not liquid. There's a deity that's made of mercury. So it must be some particular type. I don't know. Does anybody here know a deity that's made of mercury? Yeah? Okay. 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 That makes sense. Okay. Well, we've just gone through our little introduction to this several stage discussion on visits to Haridwar, Rishikesh, and Badrinath. We'll visit all those places and lots and lots and lots of importance in history, because this introduction was just touching, and then we'll expand things that we're touching. And in case you didn't catch it, in the schedule, there's going to be an application section. It's not like, an exam, but it's an opportunity to take things that you've heard and then discuss them in discussion groups with some particular topics to discuss. So you can integrate and not just hear and go home and forget everything, but hear and see some things that you can try to remember and how you can apply them. Isn't that nice? I see some people nodding and some people are bewildered. Oh, we don't want to do any homework. Okay. So pay attention, and there's extensive, and I mean, for this particular class, I have a printed text that's that thick with details and details, because Scripture has lots of details. So they say, picture speaks 1,000 words. You probably remember the picture more quickly than you remember the 1,000 words. It's like that. So let's see if there's some discussion. We have something else. Yes, we have something else in the schedule at 8 o'clock. Is that right? Okay. So we have about 25 minutes. Isn't that nice? Yes.
Thank you for the session. So I like when I was young, then I went to Badrinath. I lived in Haridwar for a certain amount of time in my life. But at that point, I did not embrace spirituality the way I do it now. And I didn't have the knowledge that I have now. So I was wondering, like, how do you reconcile the gap, or how do you see it? Is it just like how the perspective where you see it, like your journey of life, and you're touching different milestones as you walk through the stages of life?
Your question is how to integrate what you experienced when you were little and what you're hearing today, and how to bridge the gap between what you're hearing today, what you didn't know when you were little. Is that what you're asking?
So the location, physical location, has its spiritual.
Yeah, there's potency even if you don't know the detail. There's
Yeah.
purification even if you don't know the detail. Just going there. And whatever else you did while you were there, with whomever you were with, to encourage you this and that and the other thing, there's purification. Then there's further, supposing, at some point in time you go back and pay a visit. Shh. Supposing at some point in time you go back and visit. And then you see and you remember, So it's gradual. But the purification, this way, that way, the other way, it's all very nice. And you can put it all together, and it's very nice. Therefore, it's an ideal thing to do, to take groups of devotees on pilgrimage to holy places, and while you're in the place, you narrate. And that's what we did. We went all these places, we went and we narrated. But now we're not there, so we're just narrating and showing pictures. Just a little bit of sharing with the detail. a person who I went with, one of sannyasi that I went with was Bhakti Chaitanya Swami. His base is in Durban, South Africa, and he's wonderful Vaishnava, very knowledgeable, very sweet, very a human glubjaman. He's like really nice. And we went to Badrinath, but we didn't go to the other places, Kedarnath, Gangotri, Jamunotri. So we thought, let's go together with a group of devotees. But things came up, and so it's not going to happen this time around. But let's see. But, there's lots of places we heard about, but we didn't get to go yet. And time is ticking. We're not going to be around forever. So, purification in different ways. Seeing, hearing, visiting, bathing, deity. It's all purification. Gradual. Okay? Anything else? Yes, over here.
I heard the Gandaki River in Haridwar is mentioned in the slide, but does it flow from Nepal to Haridwar? Or I know the Gandaki River, the river Gandaki.
Apparently. I don't know the detail. I don't know my geography well enough to say definitively something. But yes, Gandaki is this celebrated place where Shalagram Shilas appear in Nepal. Yes. And that same Gandaki is further down. So it flows towards the sea. There's something online? Yes? No? Okay. Anyone else? Looks like that's it. Okay.